She walked into that estate to sign the biggest deal of her life. But 3 words from the billionaire's son made her tear up $600 million merger instead. The morning mist clung to the Hamptons coastline like expensive perfume as Maya Richardson's black Tesla Model S Plaid rolled through the wrought iron gates of Sterling Manor. At 38, she had built Quantum Drive from her grandmother's garage in Detroit into the most advanced autonomous trucking AI in North America. Today was supposed to be her victory lap. Maya stepped out wearing a charcoal Armani suit, her natural hair styled in a sleek low bun, diamond studs catching the pale sunlight. She didn't dress to impress anyone. She dressed like someone who had already won. The Sterling estate stretched across 50 acres of what used to be old tobacco money, now converted into tech billions. White columns rose like monuments to inherited power, while perfectly manicured gardens whispered of groundskeepers who earned more than most teachers. Maya! Richard Sterling emerged from the front entrance, arms spread wide like he was greeting family. 64 years old, silver hair, and the kind of smile that had been closing deals since before Maya was born. "Welcome to our home, Mr. Sterling," Maya replied, extending her hand for a firm handshake. She'd learned to grip like she meant it, not aggressive, just unmistakable. Behind Richard stood Catherine Sterling, draped in cream cashmere that probably cost more than Maya's first car. Her smile was museum quality, beautiful, preserved, and somehow lifeless. "We're so excited about today," Catherine said, though her eyes did that thing Maya had seen 1,000 times. The quick scan, the mental calculation, the slight surprise that never quite faded. "I hope your flight from California wasn't too exhausting." "Not at all," Maya said. "Thank you for having me." They led her through a foyer that belonged in Versailles. Oil paintings of stern-faced Sterling ancestors lined the walls, their eyes seeming to track her movement across marble floors that echoed with authority. "The family's been in shipping for 4 generations," Richard explained, gesturing toward a portrait of a man in a naval uniform. "Started with cargo ships, moved into logistics, now we're positioning for the future of transportation." Maya nodded politely, though she was thinking about how those cargo ships had probably carried more than just goods back in the day. Old money always had old secrets. A young man appeared to take Maya's overnight bag, Latino, maybe 25, wearing the kind of invisible uniform that screamed, "Staff." He disappeared down a hallway without making eye contact. "We've prepared the guest cottage for you," Catherine said, her tone suggesting this was a wonderful privilege. "It's quite private, very peaceful. You'll have complete independence." Maya paused. "The guest cottage. I thought the other executives were staying in the main house?" "Oh, they are." Catherine's smile never wavered. "But we thought you might appreciate having your own space, somewhere you could really unwind." The words hung in the air like humidity before a storm. Maya had heard this song before, the polite segregation, the careful distance disguised as courtesy. "How thoughtful," Maya said, filing it away. They walked through rooms that felt more like museum exhibits than living spaces. Everything was white or cream or gold, sterile as an operating room but somehow less warm. "Brandon," Richard called out as they passed a sitting room. "Come meet our star guest." Brandon Sterling looked up from his phone. 36, Harvard MBA, and the kind of effortless arrogance that came with never having to prove yourself. His handshake was firm but brief, like he was already moving on to more important things. "Maya Richardson," he said, not quite making it a question. "I've been reading about your company. Very interesting work in the urban logistics space." Maya's smile tightened. Quantum Drive's AI systems were being tested by Amazon, Walmart, and the US military. Urban logistics was like calling the internet a messaging system. "We actually focus on long-haul autonomous trucking," Maya corrected. "Cross-country freight, supply chain optimization, that sort of thing." Right. Brandon nodded, though his expression suggested he was already categorizing her work as something niche and specific. "Dad says you're quite the innovator." The way he said innovator made it sound like a participation trophy. "I solve problems," Maya said simply. Richard clapped his hands together. "Well, speaking of solving problems, shall we head to the study? The legal team is waiting, and I know everyone's excited to make this official. If you're enjoying this story, Kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We are just a small channel trying to grow. And do not forget to comment where you're watching from. Thank you, and back to our video. As they walked toward the back of the house, Maya caught sight of her reflection in a window. She looked composed, successful, in control. But something cold was starting to form in her chest, like ice crystals in supercooled water. The study was all dark wood and leather, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves that probably held more stock certificates than actual books. 3 lawyers in identical navy suits sat around a mahogany conference table, contracts spread out like battle plans. "Maya," Richard said, "meet our legal team. They've been working around the clock to structure this deal perfectly." The lead attorney, a woman with steel gray hair and the kind of handshake that could crack walnuts, looked up from her papers. "Ms. Richardson, we're thrilled to welcome Quantum Drive into the Sterling family. This acquisition will provide you with the resources and distribution network to really scale your operations." Acquisition? Maya's smile didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes. "I thought we were discussing a partnership." "Oh, of course," Richard laughed, the kind of laugh that was meant to smooth over inconvenient details. "Partnership, acquisition, semantics. Really, the important thing is that we're joining forces." Maya looked at the contracts. 60 pages of legal language that basically said Sterling Industries would own Quantum Drive. She would run the subsidiary, and everyone would get very rich. "I'd like to review these before we proceed," Maya said. "Naturally," the attorney replied, "though I think you'll find everything is quite standard. Compensation package, equity structure, operational guidelines." "Operational guidelines?" Brandon leaned forward, his expression suggesting he was about to explain something complex to someone simple. "Just standard oversight protocols. Dad likes to stay involved in major decisions, especially during the integration phase." Maya set the contract down carefully. "What kind of decisions?" "Personnel, strategic direction, that sort of thing," Richard said, waving his hand like these were minor details. "Nothing that would interfere with your day-to-day operations." "My day-to-day operations include hiring my team and setting our strategic direction." An uncomfortable pause. The lawyers shuffled papers. Catherine suddenly found her manicure fascinating. "Of course," Richard said. "But you have to understand, Maya, $600 million requires certain safeguards. We need to ensure that Quantum Drive maintains the kind of leadership stability our shareholders expect." There it was. Leadership stability. Maya had heard that phrase before, usually right before someone suggested she needed adult supervision. "I've been leading Quantum Drive for 8 years, Maya said, her voice level. "We've grown from 3 employees to 400, from 0 revenue to 200 million annually. What exactly about my leadership suggests instability?" Brandon jumped in, apparently sensing an opportunity to be helpful. "It's not about your track record, Maya. It's about fit. Sterling Industries has a very specific culture, and we want to make sure everyone's comfortable." "Comfortable? You know?" Brandon's smile was meant to be reassuring but landed somewhere closer to condescending. "That your management style aligns with our corporate values." Maya stared at him. "Which of my management values concern you?" "Well," Brandon glanced at his father, then back at Maya. "Sometimes entrepreneurs can be a little emotional about their companies. We just want to ensure decision-making stays rational." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Maya's voice remained perfectly calm. "Emotional. Passionate," Richard quickly corrected, shooting his son a look. "Brandon means passionate, which is wonderful, of course, but large-scale operations require a more measured approach." Maya stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "Gentlemen, I think I need some air." She walked out of the study, through the corridor, past the oil paintings of dead patriarchs, and out onto the terrace that overlooked the sound. The salt air hit her face like a slap, clearing her head. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Amara Okafor, her CTO. "How's it going?" "Ready to celebrate." Maya stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Define celebrate." The phone rang immediately. "Maya?" You sound weird. What's happening? Amara, Maya said, her voice steady but charged with something her friend immediately recognized. Remind me why we started Quantum Drive. Because nobody else was building AI systems that could think 3 moves ahead. Amara replied without hesitation. Because we were tired of being the smartest people in rooms full of men who thought we were lucky to be there. And what did we promise ourselves? That we'd never trade our vision for their approval. Amara's voice grew serious. Maya, what's going on? Maya told her about the guest cottage, the urban logistics comment, the operational guidelines, the discussion about her emotional management style. Those entitled pieces of... Amara started. The question, Maya interrupted, is what we do about it. You want to walk away. I want to remember who we are, Maya said. We built Quantum Drive to prove that excellence doesn't need permission. Now they want to give us $600 million to forget that. Dinner was served in a dining room that could have hosted the UN Security Council. Maya sat between Catherine and Dr. Helena Morrison, a woman who ran something called the Foundation for Educational Equity and who kept asking Maya about her journey, like she was recovering from a tragic accident instead of running a billion-dollar company. At the head of the table, Richard held court with Senator James Blackwood and several other men whose names appeared on buildings and legislation. Their conversation drifted from yacht specifications to tax policy to the challenge of finding good help these days. Maya, called out Victoria Ashworth, the wife of a media mogul. You simply must tell us how you got into technology. It's such an unusual path for someone with your background. Maya's fork paused halfway to her mouth. My background? Oh, you know? Victoria waved her wine glass airily. Coming from where you came from and ending up here, it's very inspiring. Maya had grown up in a middle-class family in Detroit. Her father was an electrical engineer at Ford. Her mother taught high school chemistry. The only thing she'd overcome was other people's assumptions. I got into technology by being good at math, Maya said. Well, yes, but surely there's more to it than that, Dr. Morrison pressed. What programs helped you? What mentors opened doors? Maya set down her fork. MIT opened doors. Writing better code than anyone else opened doors. Building systems that work opened doors. An uncomfortable silence. Then Catherine laughed. Of course, dear. We just love hearing about young people who've worked so hard to get where they are. Young people. Maya was 38 and had been running companies longer than some of these people had been out of college. Brandon, who had been drinking steadily since they sat down, leaned back in his chair. You know what I admire about this whole deal? He said, his voice carrying clearly across the table. It shows we're serious about modernizing our image, bringing in diverse leadership, fresh perspectives. Maya's blood pressure spiked. Diverse leadership. Exactly, Brandon continued, apparently oblivious to the shift in energy. It's not just good PR, it's good business. Studies show that diverse teams outperform traditional structures. Brandon, Richard warned quietly, but Brandon was on a roll. I mean, let's be honest, having someone like Maya at the helm sends a message. Shows we're not just another old boys club. The room went dead silent. Maya could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the corner, counting down the seconds until her response. Someone like me, Maya repeated, her voice deadly calm. Brandon finally seemed to realize he'd stepped in something. I just meant, innovative, forward-thinking. No, Maya said, standing up slowly. You meant black. You meant woman. You meant different enough to check your diversity boxes but familiar enough not to threaten your comfort. Catherine's laugh was sharp as breaking glass. Maya, I think you're misinterpreting. Am I? Maya's voice cut through the nervous chatter like a laser. Because what I'm hearing is that Quantum Drive's value to Sterling Industries isn't our technology or our market position or our $200 million in annual revenue. It's what my face looks like in your annual report. Richard tried to take control. Maya, you're clearly upset. I'm not upset, Maya said, her voice growing stronger with each word. I'm clear, crystal clear. You don't want a partner. You want a mascot. You don't want to acquire Quantum Drive. You want to acquire me so you can point to your diverse leadership team while you make the real decisions. She looked around the table at faces that had gone pale with panic. Here's what you missed in all your due diligence. I didn't build Quantum Drive to be anyone's diversity hire. I built it to revolutionize freight transportation. My algorithms don't care what color I am. Neither should my partners. Maya walked toward the door, her heels clicking against the marble like a countdown timer. Enjoy your dinner. I'll see myself out. The guest cottage felt like a prison cell made of luxury. Maya sat on the bed, staring at her phone, watching the Sterling Industries stock price tick upward in after-hours trading as investors anticipated the deal announcement. She opened her laptop and started typing. After careful consideration, Quantum Drive will not proceed with the proposed acquisition by Sterling Industries. We believe that true partnerships are built on mutual respect, not corporate image management. She stared at the words for a long moment, then added, "We're in the business of moving things forward, not backwards." Her finger hovered over the send button. $600 million. Global distribution. Everything she'd worked for. Then she thought about the young engineers on her team, brilliant women and people of color who had joined Quantum Drive because they believed in building something that mattered. She thought about the message it would send if she sold their dreams to people who saw them as decorations. She hit send. The next morning, Maya stood behind a simple podium at the East Hampton Community Center, facing a room packed with reporters who had rushed to the Hamptons when word leaked about a major tech story breaking. "Thank you for coming," Maya began, her voice clear and strong. "I'm here to announce that Quantum Drive has decided not to proceed with the proposed acquisition by Sterling Industries." The room erupted, but Maya raised her hand for silence. This wasn't a financial decision. This was a values decision. Quantum Drive was founded on the principle that innovation comes from excellence, not from filling quotas. We refuse to be acquired by a company that sees our value in terms of optics rather than outcomes. She paused, looking directly into the cameras. "I want to be clear about something. I didn't build Quantum Drive to be anyone's diversity initiative. I built it to solve problems that matter. Our AI systems don't see color. They see data, patterns, solutions. That's all they need to see." Maya's voice grew stronger. "To every entrepreneur watching this, especially those who look like me, your worth isn't determined by other people's comfort with your success. Your value isn't measured by how well you fit their narrative. Build something they can't ignore. Build something they can't buy." The questions came fast and furious, but Maya handled each one with the same calm authority she brought to board meetings and investor presentations. Within hours, #Maya Richardson was trending worldwide. Business networks ran special segments. The story dominated tech blogs and social media, but the real response came from places Maya hadn't expected. Her phone exploded with calls from other companies, venture firms, even government agencies. Jennifer Chong from Pacific Tech Ventures called first. "Maya, we've been following Quantum Drive for 3 years. We'd like to discuss a partnership that gives you everything Sterling offered, plus board seats and operational independence. When can we meet?" David Rodriguez from Nexus Capital was next. "No acquisition, just investment. You maintain control, we provide scaling capital." Interested. By the end of the week, Maya had 12 serious offers, each one better than Sterling's original proposal. 6 months later, Maya stood in Quantum Drive's new headquarters in Austin, watching her team of 600 engineers working on technology that would be deployed across 4 continents. The company was now valued at $1.8 billion, and Maya owned 70% of it. Her phone buzzed with a message from a young entrepreneur in Chicago. "Watched your press conference. Just turned down an acquisition that would have made me rich but cost me my company. Building my own path instead. Thank you for showing us how." Maya smiled and typed back, "They need your innovation more than you need their validation. Build something undeniable." She walked to her office window, looking out at the Austin skyline. Somewhere in the Hamptons, the Sterlings were probably still trying to figure out how they had fumbled a $600 million deal. But Maya wasn't thinking about them anymore. She was thinking about the next problem to solve, the next barrier to break, the next impossible thing to make inevitable. The best revenge wasn't getting even. It was getting ahead. And Maya Richardson was always 3 moves ahead. If you enjoyed our story, hit the subscribe button for more inspiring story and don't forget to like and share.